Yes, good morning, viewers, and welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. We're just at about 7:15 a.m. And just before we head on into that interview, I wanted to take the time out this morning to do a quick shout out to none other than an Evelyn Charles. And I met Evelyn yesterday in terms of our interactions and so on, and she was in the vicinity. I suspect that we live in the same area. And as I pulled in, she saw me and she said, "You are the guy from Tobago Updates?" And I said, "Yes." And most certainly we had a quick conversation there. But I'm particularly happy that we have Natalia on this morning because Evelyn was saying to me, not only does she follow Tobago Updates, but she is particularly impressed with our Youth Wednesday show
Thank
and
you
the
so much, Miss
exceptional work of
Evelyn.
our young people. And this morning I thought it's so fitting for me to really send that shout out. She said, "I wouldn't be the one to type in or send anything, but I am always tuned in." So this morning I want to give a shout out to Evelyn Charles. And we want to say thank you so much for your continued love and support for the Tobago Updates morning show and that particular encouragement to our Youth Wednesday as we continue to boast the only one to have that dedicated time for our young persons as we continue to invest in their future growth and development. So congratulations indeed.
Thank you so much.
All right, viewers, and at this point, we're preparing to head on into our first interview this morning with Farahnaz Solomon, marine biologist, as we continue the conversation speaking to the behavior of bull sharks. Good morning to you and welcome.
Hi, good morning. Thank you.
Good
Good.
morning. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. So I know we started the conversation quite recently in terms of looking at the scenario and situation, and then we saw what would have happened more recently, videos circulating and so on, as it relates to, people have gone all out and in some cases appearing to send that message. Your thoughts, concerns in the circumstances?
Yes, I did see the videos that were circulating yesterday. Very unfortunate, but I think what happened is that this shark incident have actually highlighted a very common practice that occurs in our waters, and we do fish. For sharks, we have a shark fishery, whether it's got by bycatch or whether people target sharks. So they do bring in sharks, and there's a lot of there's a global conservation there's an issue regarding the conservation of sharks because they're very important to our marine environment. They are what we call apex predators. Not all, but some of them. So you have like the tiger sharks, the bull sharks, some of our hammerheads, for example, the great hammerhead. They are apex predators, meaning, and this refers to their position in the food chain. So they are top of the food chain, and what they do is that they help to keep their prey in check. And by doing this, it reduces the pressure on what their prey actually eat. And a lot of these fishes are fishes that we actually catch or harvest for food. As well, a lot of these fishes are fishes that are important to our reefs. They serve some sort of ecological importance on the reef. And so when we remove the top predators like sharks, right, their prey, or their populations of prey are allowed to explode, and this affects the fishes lower down. Right, so sharks are very important to the health of our coral reef ecosystems, and they're also very vulnerable to overfishing because they have very special life history characteristics. So special, they reproduce very slowly. To put it in a nutshell, sharks take very long to become sexually mature. For example, a bull shark would take like about 8 to 10 years to become sexually mature to produce young, and then the amount of young that it produces is very little compared to normal bony fishes like a carrot or kingfish that would produce something like 1 million eggs. A litter for a bull shark would be like something like about 25 pups, if so much, right? So that they're very, very slow to reproduce, and hence they are very, very vulnerable to overfishing. And we do have a shark fishery. And unfortunately, Trinidad and Tobago, we did go through these steps of developing a national plan of action many years ago. So there is a draft, but we haven't implemented anything. And so this shark attack with people catching sharks has just brought to light the fact that we really need to do something with regards to conservation. And hopefully, it would help in a positive way, because it really is bringing the issue to light, right? But it is something that happens. We catch shark, you know, so we need to deal with it now.
So I wanted to get from you, you made a particular point there in terms of the fact that we catch sharks, and some have been expressing via social media what's the big uproar about at the moment. Bearing in mind, it's in fact it's a delicacy in Trinidad and Tobago to have a
Yes,
good
yes,
beacon
right,
shark, and of course the shark have got to come
yes,
from somewhere. How do you respond in
yes.
terms of that kind of balance? Is it at a point now where it's probably indiscriminate, or really and truly it's just that we haven't caught it on camera before because we were all enjoying the meal? A very good beacon shark in this circumstance. How do you balance that off for those that express those views that
Okay,
they don't see the real
so
concern at this point?
yes. So it happens, and my background is actually fisheries, so I've seen it happen on that particular landing site where the bull sharks were brought in. I have been there before. Sharks are landed at that site, right? It's not uncommon, right? Um, yes, shark is very important to us, socioeconomic and culturally. When we did the National Plan of Action for Sharks, it is recognized that shark, culturally is part of our diet, right? And certainly no one was saying ban shark fishing. What you need to do is put measures in place. There are many different species of sharks in our waters, right? And what you need to do, put a management plan. The ones that are endangered, you can do things like protect spawning areas, open and close seasons. There are different things that you can do. It is recognized that it is part of our diet. And well, so it's important to us then, right? So no one is saying ban sharks, but you need to put management things in place. There can be a balance, right? And we have to start somewhere.
All right. And if we do see a shark, I mean, this is the way going forward. If we, as a community, as bathers, frequent bathers, see a shark on our shoreline, in our waters, what should be our response?
If you are in the water, right, what you do is you quietly try to come out of the water, right? Maybe if you can keep an eye on the shark as you come out of the water, you could do that as well. If you have been fishing, or if you have any sort of uh, fish and what you call chum near you, keep it as far away as possible and come out of the water. And then if there are lifeguards, you alert the lifeguards, and you also alert other people that are in the water so that they can exit as well, right? You don't want to make a big splash and stuff like that. Sharks tend to get, excited as well when that happens. So you do it as quietly as possible.
So you mentioned that there would be smaller fish around us when the shark is near. Are there other signs that we could look for to tell that the shark is near?
Well, I know usually if there are sharks, one of the first signs, okay, so of course there are certain things in the environment that would increase the probability of a shark being present. Okay, and these are, you don't have to look very far to find these. Sharks tend to feed or tend to come closer to shore during like dusk till dawn in order to feed, right? And this is why it is recommended that you don't swim during these times. Shark tends to come, or they are attracted by things like chum in the water. So if you see someone fishing and they're throwing things like fish guts in the water, right, that's not safe, right? So you want to avoid situations like that. Very often as well, one of the first signs is that normally you would see like a fin. Lifeguards, very often they look for fins out in the water. Those are patrolling. There are tourist beaches that are known for having sharks nearby, and they look for fins in the water. Yeah, but there are conditions that sharks are attracted to. Another one would be they've found that at the mouth of rivers during heavy rainfall, where you have an outflow of organic matter or nutrients into the ocean, right by the river mouth, right? That would attract smaller fishes, which in turn would attract sharks because sharks would feed on those fish.
All
So there are
right.
certain conditions that you can avoid.
It's interesting that you've mentioned that, and I listened to your response in particular to Natalia when you spoke about the fact that you should do it as quietly as possible. But it's almost as though every movie we've watched, when there's a shark, people are all screaming and pointing to the water with people in the water saying "shark, shark," which I suspect is not very much the best response in real life circumstances. You
Yes.
mentioned something in speaking there. here, and I really want you to use the opportunity in terms of reminding persons. Some still have that fear that there's going to be shark attacks just continuing on the island. And you know, when we spoke the last time around, I really want you to remind our viewers and listeners from a professional perspective in terms of, is this something that we should anticipate frequently? Is this a rare occurrence? Just give a gentle reminder.
The shark attacks or shark incidents like this is very, very rare. It's a very unfortunate, tragic incident that happened, but it's rare. I don't want to be cliche because people, you know, in trying to convince people or to allay fears, they would try to compare it to your chances of dying from a lightning strike is greater, chances of getting into an accident is greater than being bitten by a shark. But overall, the point is it's very rare. You know, and the thing is, we've always had shark in our waters and we have been coexisting with them forever. Okay, it's not like it's now that it's happening. No, they've always been there.
There's a lot of speculations happening now in relation to bull sharks, and you know, certainly when things like these become popular, everyone becomes an expert. What would you say are some of the myths definitely out there coming out of this incident within the last few days in response from the general public that as a professional you would most certainly want to clarify those kinds of misconceptions?
I think the main one is that people tend to think because of this incident, people are thinking that, well, sharks go after people, but they don't. Shark prey is fish, more or less fish. They don't go after people. Very, very rare, you know, and you may be surprised to know that you have probably been in close vicinity of a shark, but the shark just totally ignoring you. They don't want to be near you either, right? So, you know, well, like I said, humans are not shark prey. They shark feed on fish. They're not coming after you. And unfortunately, you mentioned a lot of movies earlier. You mentioned movies like Jaws, and people get their first impression of sharks from movies like Jaws,
Correct.
where sharks seem to be demented and going after people. This is not the case, right? And in fact, I think the producer of Jaws at some point in time came out and apologized for that because of that movie, you know, Jaws, people have such a bad impression of sharks. It did a lot of harm to the reputation of sharks, and I think he apologized for that.
Definitely. As we prepare to close this morning's interview, any other facts or information that you would want to share, you know, based on your profession and kind of helping persons to move beyond the current grave concern that may exist in this space? And even to those looking on from the outside as, you know, possible visitors to the island.
Yes, I think the authorities, so obviously we are in new waters. This has never happened before. The authorities are doing everything that they possibly can to make sure the waters are safe for people to go back to the bathing beaches, to open back the beaches that have been closed. We need to follow the guidance of the authorities and just be knowledgeable. You know, we are on social media for everything. We search everything on the internet. Even if you're not provided with enough information, it's very easy for you to go and look these things up. Right? How to keep yourself safe in the water, what you should or should not do, right? What may attract sharks to a particular area. There's enough information out there for you to find it and to follow it. Right? Shark attacks are already rare. You can reduce encounters, which would make it even rarer.
Thank you so much, Farahnaz Solomon, marine biologist, for joining us here on set this morning as we continue to focus, you know, of course, on this incident that would have taken place, and more importantly, you know, as a media entity, to be able to try to bring you the facts, bring you additional information, some guidelines, and to bring some clarity as we go along. So most certainly, thank you so much again for joining us here on the Tobago Updates morning show. The viewers, we want to continue to thank each and every one of you, you know, as you connect with us, and most certainly, we're going to be having coming up next, we're going to be having discussions as well with Junior Kwashi, again getting another perspective, and it would be interesting, Natalya, to hear from the side of a fisherman.
Yes, because we did hear from the marine biologist side. You know, she would have delved more into the theory and things of these things. So now we get it from someone on the ground, well, I should say on the water, yes. Right? A fisherman on the water. So I'm excited to hear what his views are on this.
Indeed, in fact, because, you know, we've we've been hearing the concerns coming out, and it gets to the point of livelihood and so on now for those, particularly with the circumstances in terms of the areas there for the beaches and so on. So certainly we look forward to those updates coming up as we look forward to the upcoming discussions. But at this point, as we prepare to head on out, we want to say thank you so much indeed for continuing to choose the Tobago Updates morning show. And we want to remind you that this is your opportunity to share the live, share the live, share the live.